Indie Beacon Radio with hostess Denise Bryson. Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
Welcome everyone to our radio show. Thank you so much for joining in and listening to us today. I have the great pleasure of interviewing our Carolyn Rowland, and she is the author of The Meter's Always Running. Let me get this straight. The Meter's Always Running. So she is the author of that, and she writes other things too. She's a part of a sci-fi anthology and also a crime anthology. That's correct?
Mm-hmm, that's correct.
Yeah, well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me today. I'm excited to be on your show. I am a lawyer. I still practice a little bit of law, but I've been writing since I was a kid, and am now finding that I have a little more time where I can devote it to writing novels and writing a lot more short stories, and so I'm having a good time with that.
That's amazing. Now, how did you get started into writing?
I started really as a kid. In school, they always have, you obviously write for classes and stuff, but we also had contests. And I had some English teachers who really sort of encouraged me to write. And I always loved to read. And so I think the two sort of go hand in hand. And I started writing really early. And now I've come back to it more so now that I have a little more time.
That's great. And you're right. Most of the time, people that are avid readers are usually are writers as well. So That's one of the things. I know they always say the readers are leaders, but or leaders are readers, but writers are also readers as well. That's such a great story. So what about now? Tell us a little bit about The Meter's Always Running. Tell us about the protagonist in the story and the antagonist in the story, and just give us a little bit about what's going on with this book. It seems like such a fun read and exciting all at the same time. So you can enjoy, some of our listening audience will enjoy reading this book.
Well, the book is set in Savannah, Georgia, so it's got a little bit of the city there and everything that goes into Savannah and its history. The protagonist is a lady taxi driver named Trisha Reed, and she is asked by a couple of people who are riding in her taxi to put another passenger out, and he dies. And so she has to investigate that. And then she has her Aunt Harriet, who has recently died, who's a ghost. Since we're in Savannah, we got to have a ghost. And she's sort of sidekick, but has her own things that she has to resolve in it. The antagonist, of course, is the person who killed the fair, who I can't really tell you who that is. You have to follow the clues. Read the book so you know who actually who killed the gentleman who died, and follow Trisha along as she solves it.
That's good. So she is an investigator as well as a taxi driver. So she does both. So she
does.
Yes.
Yeah. She feels responsible, even though somebody else told her to put him out. She just feels like she needs to solve that. So she embarks on that journey.
That is good. That's so good. So then what is the significance of the book title?
Well, the book title, because this is an amateur sleuth, a lot of times when you have cozy mysteries or amateur sleuth, you play with sort of puns. And because she's a taxi driver, there's always a meter and there's always a fare. And so the meter's always running as basically her job, but also the fact that she's running around all the time trying to solve this mystery.
Right. It's such a great title. Then okay, now how did you develop the ideal for the novel?
Well, I knew that I wanted to write an amateur sleuth, and that I was sort of trying to figure out what the character was and who that might be. And I go to Savannah every year for a work conference. And because I live in Virginia, sometimes I drive, but a couple of times I've taken an airplane. And I got out one day and was taking a cab to my hotel. And lo and behold, there was this little woman, not little woman, but she was sort of a compact, just high energy lady, who was my cab driver. And she was a hoot. And, we talked the whole way. And by the end of it, I just was like, oh my gosh, she would be a great character. And so then it was like, it sort of planted in my head, and I started trying to figure out, okay, well, what could I do in Savannah that would be a fun mystery?
And you came up with it.
That's where this came from.
Came up with it. That is amazing. So, and then did the characters begin to start talking to you?
Yeah, I'm one of those people where the characters constantly talk in my head. And because I have two strong women here with Trisha and then her Aunt Harriet, they sort of compete at times to tell the story. And yeah, I mean, they just talk. I don't typically outline anything. And so, the characters just sort of take off and they tell me the story, and I'm just kind of along for the ride.
That's good. Now, as people read your book, what message would you like for them to take away from this novel?
And I don't know that there's really a message. I hope that they just have a fun time reading it. I want it to be a good read. I hope that, they learn a little bit about Savannah, that it might also pique their interest in visiting Savannah, or if they go to Savannah, checking out some of the spots and some of the things that, I've discovered along the way. But mostly I just want them to have a fun time and a good read.
Mm-hmm. Well, because I know I looked at one of your reviews, and the reviewee she said, I have visited Savannah many times, and this author knows her stuff. So she's saying, you know exactly what you're talking about. And she likes seeing the city through your eyes and of this taxi driver. So you painted such a vivid picture that they were able to see the city through your eyes and through what you wrote. So that speaks volumes to your book. It was a 5-star rating, but she really enjoyed it. And she said, this is good-hearted and friendly. So she's telling us it's a good, fun read. And Aunt Harriet was a hoot.
Yeah, she's got her own personality. And I'm really glad when Savannah comes through, because I've walked the city so much, just sort of visiting places and checking it out. It's just a fun place. And I love the history and the fact that there's ghost tours, and there's, I just want to build in all those fun things that make up the personality of the city. It's just fun.
That's good. So, because I mean, from, if when you think about and hear reviews like that, if someone had never been to Savannah and they read your book, they could get a clear picture of what the city is like and what that area is like. So that's always good, because that's what you want to do as a writer. You want to paint such a picture that the people can be like, oh yeah, this is, and they get excited about reading the book. So that's amazing.
Well, thank you. I hope so, because I really want to pull them in and have them experience the city in the same way that I have. And hopefully I've done enough of that in the book that at least one reader got that. So hopefully others will enjoy it in the same way.
Same thing, exactly. Now, what journey did writing this book take you on? Did it take you on any journey as an author?
I think I learned a whole lot. I think anytime a writer does their first novel, which this is, you really learn a lot about how to do it and things that you would not do the next time, or better ways to do it, or you sort of learn your process. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway for me, was I learned my process and how to trust those voices in my head, that they really do know the story. I just have to let them.
They are telling the story. They really are. It's just amazing to hear how authors say that all the time. Says, yeah, they just started talking.
It's hard to turn them off sometimes.
Yeah, because they just start talking. You thinking, "Ooh, you be quiet. I don't feel like doing this." But anyway, we're gonna take a break, and we're gonna hear from our wonderful sponsors. So we'll be right back.
I'm Rox Berkey.
And I'm Charles Brakefield. We're award-winning co-authors, Brakefield and Berkey, of the Enigma book series. There are 10 books in the series, with book number 11 planned for release in January 2020.
Each story has a central technology focus ranging from identity theft to cryptocurrency and now AI wars. These adult techno thrillers pit cyber good guys against cyber thugs across the darknet.
In our world, technology is today's weapon of choice. You can enjoy ebook format, paper, or Audible. We want your feedback.
Until the next story, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, hello there, my friends. My name is Randy James, independent voiceover producer in the Dallas, Texas area, available to write and record a 30-second commercial, much like the one you're hearing right now. It's a great way to help increase awareness and exposure to your book title. It's easy to do. Simply call me and we'll brainstorm on a few ideas, and in a few hours, I'll whip something up and send you a digital file ready to use. Remember, call or text me, Randy James, at 214-762-1942.
Welcome to IndieLector.store, an online bookstore where the discriminating reader can find award-winning books. IndieLector.store is not a big corporation, so we can give up to 80% of the sales directly to the author. Help us support them by buying a great book at IndieLector.store.
Join us for the 6th Annual Authors Marketing Event in Granbury, Texas on July 23rd to the 25th, 2021, where authors share ideas and learn from the professionals over a 2-day weekend. Receive your book marketing certification from the only organization in the world that has been doing it for 5 years, Authors Marketing Guild, a membership-based organization that supports authors from around the world. Learn more at ame.authorsmarketingguild.com. Sponsored by IndieLector.store, a bookstore that pays authors their fair share.
Hello, I am the author and poet Denise Bryson. I am the author of The Things That Cross My Mind, Love's Reality, both in book and audio form. I am also noted as one of the best poets of 2011. I have 2 new projects coming up. One is the Blinky series, where Blinky tells us all about our coins and our bills for our children. I also have a book coming out called Say Ye. It's quotes from Denise Bryson, just inspirational and that will help you along the way.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
Hello, listening audience, and welcome back to our radio show. We have been interviewing Carolyn Rowland, and she is the author of The Meters Always Running. So we have been enjoying her talking about her book and the characters of the book, and just it's fun and it's exciting. It's a mystery. It's all these things, and so it's really a good book for you to read if you want to read something good and get a vivid picture of Savannah. If you've never visited, here's an opportunity for you to learn something about it before you take that journey. Hello, Carolyn. What else would you like to say? What would you else like to say about The Meters Always Running? What else would you like the readers to know that would encourage them to? You have to get it. You have to get the book.
I think it's it's a little out of the ordinary because it is an amateur sleuth, and she's it's her journey, and it's also her aunt's journey. And if you like ghost stories, it's a fun one for that. I just think it's a fun mystery that's a little bit different than anything else out on the market at this point. Plus, Savannah's a great place to set a mystery. So I'd encourage people who like to read mysteries or ghost stories. This is a fun one.
This is a fun one to do. So now tell us a little bit about your sci-fi, you're part of a group of that writes sci-fi, is a sci-fi anthology. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to know a few writers who put together their own anthologies. And one of those is a sci-fi that has just come out that is about it's Earth, but it's in the future, and what that might look like. And so we all contributed stories to that, and mine is actually about when the Earth has two moons, and it's completely different. It's sort of been wiped out as far as big cities. It's more of an agricultural place at this point in time, and there's sort of secrets as to how it's surviving and what's going on. That's interesting. So that's kind of different for me. I like genre fiction, so I like mystery and sci-fi and fantasy, and I sort of move between them just because they all are just fun to write. It's an escape from the real world. And I like to pull people into another world and sort of let them escape,
Yes.
which is partly in the meter as well. But in my sci-fi and my fantasy, it's like, let me go somewhere else and let me take somebody along and hopefully, let them spend some time in another world.
Yes. Oh, that is really good. Now, and then, so what about your crime anthologies that you're part of as well?
The crime anthology, there is a publisher out of Canada, Carrick Publishing. They do an anthology almost every year, sometimes a little more. And I've been in one of theirs before, and now I'm going to be in the one that's coming out in September. It's called A Grave Diagnosis. So it's got a little bit of, the stories all have crime in it, but they also have some sort of illness in it. I think that got inspired by the COVID-19, but that's clearly not what we're all writing about. But that was fun. So I've worked with them before, and they put out a good product. So I'm looking forward to the anthology coming out and being able to read all the other stories, and thrilled that mine's in there.
Yeah. And now that's coming out in September. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now tell us what other projects are you working on? Are you working on more of those short stories and the crime anthologies, or are you working on something else on your own as well?
Well, I'm working on the second book that comes after the meter, which is called A Fair to Remember, which is a little bit of a play on words, because it's as opposed to affair with the movie, it's a fair. And so Trisha will be back with Aunt Harriet and with her cat Possum, and they'll be solving another murder mystery, and that'll be fun. And then I do some short stories, on a regular basis, but mostly I'm going to be working on the novel and getting the second one out there, since the characters are sort of telling me it's time. They're ready.
Writing again.
They want to be solving another mystery.
You want to tell our story? Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
That is so funny. I think that's just so funny. And then what? What about the story may have any personal, personal effects in it? Did any of this? Do you see anything personal from the story? Like the storyline also came because there was a personal experience?
There's not anything directly, but when I was a child, my mom and dad both worked, and so my grandmother took care of me. And she liked to go to the local cemetery, and she would pull weeds, and she would talk to all of the people who were buried there. And so I sort of learned that ghosts are all around us, and they're real, and at least to her. and that's normal. And so, having Aunt Harriet there, I know there's, whether there's real ghosts or not, it's one of those things that I've just always sort of accepted, given spending time with her. And so that definitely made it, I think my attitude towards Aunt Harriet and ghosts sort of made that into the story. So that.
Yeah.
And,
So we are going to take another break, and we will be back, and we're going to hear some more from our wonderful sponsors.
Thank you for watching or listening to Indie Beacon Radio. Our sponsor, IndieLector.store, is the only bookstore that pays authors their fair share for book sales. Help authors to succeed and enjoy a great book by supporting them at IndieLector.store. Enjoy a 10% discount with coupon code SHOPPER20 at IndieLector.store. Coupon valid until December 31st, 2020. That's IndieLector.store, coupon code SHOPPER20.
What started as a love letter to her son has become an international love letter for all parents to their children. Now you can read acclaimed author Shanalee Charbonneau's story to your children. When her son was very sick, she calmed him by singing her own song to him. She turned that song into the book, My Mama Loves Me, I'm Her Little Boy. She wrote 3 more magical books for all parents and kids 6 and under. Available at Indie Lector, Amazon, and all local and national outlets.
Dear Texas is proud to present the Lone Star Festival on May 29, 2021 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., where Texas authors, artists, and creatives come together for a Texas-sized event at the Seguin Coliseum, Seguin, Texas. Sponsored by Indie Lector, Authors Marketing Guild, and the City of Seguin. A perfect event for those who enjoy the creative arts. Register for your free tickets and prizes at lonestar.bookfestival.network. Authors Marketing Guild is a membership-owned organization designed to help authors succeed and learn how to better market and sell themselves and their books. Join us at authorsmarketingguild.com and receive so many benefits you'll wonder why you didn't join sooner. That's authorsmarketingguild.com.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
Hello, welcome back to our radio show where we have been interviewing Carolyn Rowland, and she is the author of The Meter Always Running. And so, but right now we're going to talk a little bit about, what were some of the references that you gathered in writing this particular book? What were some of the things that you had to gather to put it all together?
Well, I use the internet some, but because I go down every year, I've done probably every single ghost tour, which is fun because it's at night. And, the different tour guides all have a different take on what the different ghost stories are. And half the time I've been down there, because I go in October, I've been rained on. So it's this really interesting sort of way to see the city because it's rainy and foggy and they're talking about ghosts and you've got all this swirling stuff around with the moss hanging down. It's just really fun. And I've, gone to a lot of the homes and talked to the caretakers there and the curators and just talked about the history of all of those, as well as, just talk to people there. Because they're very friendly. And so I've done that and I've, gotten old pictures and because I'm an author and a reader, I've got lots of books on Savannah, which is always fun. And in particular, they have the squares that are in Savannah that are in the historic district. They've got like 19 of them. And so I've done a lot of research on that because I always have a square in each story that is planned. So that's significant. And so it's really fun knowing the history of those and what happened there and who they're named after and all of those kind of details that don't always make it in the book, but it makes it fun for me.
Yeah, it makes it fun for the research of it. Yeah.
Yes.
So you know so much more about it. Now, what is important about this genre of writing to you and your personality?
I think it's because I've always read mysteries.
Mhm.
I started off with the Hardy Boys and
Yeah.
Trixie Belden and all of those books, and then graduated to Agatha Christie and
Uh-huh.
so many mystery writers. It always intrigued me as to how they wrote those, and
Mhm.
I think it's just sort of in my head now that mysteries are just really interesting. Um, Partly because they're sort of an intellectual exercise too, to sort of put yourself against the author of
Yeah.
can you figure out who it is,
Yeah.
and that I just find totally fascinating. So
Now did you watch when you was growing up as a child? Did you watch Scooby Doo?
of
Because that was
course, I love Scooby-Doo.
yeah,
Shaggy too.
yeah, Shaggy and all of them because they were mystery writers. So I was just wondering, did you write? Did you get to look at those when you were coming up? Because I know I did. It was so much fun.
Oh, I loved them. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were fun. Totally fun.
So that would be because that would be right up. That's what they were too. They were investigators trying to figure out, the
Right.
mystery and all of those things. And so it was so much fun. And they had ghosts.
They did. I'm sure that somewhere along the line that sort of got into my head.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sure they were an influence.
Exactly. Now tell us about another short story that you're working on now called Stolen.
Stolen is actually an anthology.
Uh-huh.
It's part of a series called Fiction River that I've submitted stories to before. And Stolen, obviously, every story in it has some kind of theft in it. And my story, it comes out in October, the anthology. And my story is called A Touch of Memory. And it's actually about a young boy who has the ability to steal memories,
Oh, wow.
um, which is kind of interesting. And it, I was trying to figure out something to write for this, and I started thinking about Frankenstein and how different parts were put together, and it's sort of rolled over into this child who is his memories are all sort of patched together by his ability. So it's kind of it's an interesting kind of different story,
Yeah,
but
that sounds
but it's
interesting.
still crimes. Yeah, it's still crimes.
Yeah,
So
those sound like the things that movies are made from.
yeah,
That sounds
if
like a
only.
movie. Yeah, those sound like that sounds like a movie. I guess it should be, because they have these, or how they have these sitcoms that all of a sudden they're doing all these. I guess they're not sitcoms, but they're the mystery movies during the week and stuff like that. That they are doing stuff like that. That somebody can all of those I can't think of some of the names of them right now, but anyway, but they do those types of things. So that sounds like something that would be fit right into one of those categories and be something that comes on every week on Netflix.
That would be fun. I would be okay with that.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be.
So now tell us what's next for you. What's going on there? What's coming up next?
Well, I'm working on the second novel in this series. It's the Haunted Series Mystery, or the Haunted City Mysteries, and that's called Affair to Remember. So hopefully it should be ready next year. And Trisha and Aunt Harriet and her cat Possum will all be back to solve another mystery.
That's amazing. Now, what do you have any virtual events coming up?
I have, well, obviously this, and I have another interview that's on a podcast, Dead to Rights. They do them, and that's it for now. I'll probably put together some sort of virtual launch parties or something down the road. But I'm on Facebook under C.A. Rowland, which is my pen name. And if you want to follow me there, I do all of my announcements there. I also have a website that's under C.A. Rowland, which I'm updating, and it will have all the events of anything that I'm going to be doing or going to conferences once we can all go to conferences again. So my website is carowland.com. And let's see, I'm on Twitter as CA Rowland Author. And then you can find me on Goodreads and some of the other places, but it's all under CA Rowland on any of those.
Okay. And you're okay. So, and you're on, are you on Indie Beacon and Texas Authors as well?
I am on Indie Beacon. Texas Authors, even though I'm from Texas, I haven't joined that, but I will be looking at that as soon as we get off the air here.
That's wonderful. That's a wonderful, it's a good group.
It sounds like it. And it's, that's where I'm from. I need to be on there.
Yes. Well, it has been a great pleasure. It has been our pleasure to talk with you today, Carolyn, and we're so thankful that you took the time to stop by and chit chat with us about your wonderful masterpieces. I'm gonna say that because you have several, and we're thankful. Carolyn Rowland, or C.A. Rowland is her pen name, and that's where you'll find the book under The Meter's Always Running. And then you can also check out her short stories and that she has written with the anthologies and the mysteries and the crime books and all of those things, and Stolen coming out in October. So there's a lot of things you can check out, but please support our authors. They are wonderful, and the books are amazing, and you will enjoy reading them. And we're in this pandemic. This is a perfect opportunity for you to read.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good evening.
Thank you for listening to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. To learn more about Indie Beacon services, to be a guest on the show, or to advertise on our show, please visit our website.
Indie Beacon Radio with hostess Denise Bryson. Indie Beacon Radio is produced by B. Allen Bourgeois for Authors Marketing Guild LLC, copyright 2020. Voiceover by Randy James, Lydia Bello, and B. Allen Bourgeois. To be a sponsor of the show or for more information, please email us at info@authorsmarketingguild.com. To be interviewed for the show, please complete the form at radio.authorsmarketingguild.com. Music Always Rejoice by Ramcord of